So I just saw the new Predator movie, and it wasn't perfect, but I think it was about as good as a Predator movie can be. I mean, it's not the original one, but I mean, you're never going to make a movie as good as that, because as I've said several times before, the timing of the movie when that came out was just perfect. The cast was perfect. It's really impossible to recreate that magic. Now, you can continue on with the lore and make a good movie, and I think this did a really good job at that. But I was wrong, and I'm sure a lot of people were wrong, because I think the synopsis led everyone to believe that it was going to be more of this woke, girl power, Mary Sue bullshit, but it really wasn't. I think they tried to kind of insert that message as kind of like this underlying subplot, but it really didn't make any sense, because the girl was constantly complaining about wanting to be a hunter or a warrior or something, and it seemed almost like she was already that. Like, the brother even acknowledged that she was already a good tracker and a healer, and it wasn't like they go out on these like solo mercenary missions to hunt. So they would always go out in these groups. Why wouldn't they have allowed her to go with them? And again, I know they were trying to make this statement about gender roles, but it was just like, I don't know how old the character's supposed to be, but I mean, I'm assuming she's at least 16 and she's no older than 20. So she's somewhere in that range. And it's like, well, she's gotten that far and everyone knows that she's not, like, I don't know. They didn't really even show what the rest of the women in the group were like. That was kind of the thing too, is like, you didn't see what does a normal woman in this tribe do every day? I mean, they showed her mom like making potions, which she knew how to do as well. And then she was like making her, making a, I don't know, a jacket or whatever, a blanket or whatever you want to call it, like fixing the skin, or I forgot what it's called. But yeah, it was like we really didn't even get an idea what a typical woman in this culture would be doing. So every day she gets up and she seems like she goes out with her tomahawk and her dog and she's out hunting and stuff. I don't understand like what she was asking for, because it seems like you're already doing the thing that you want to do. So I thought the movie kind of, disproved its own point, or it kind of went against its own objective by trying to make it seem like, she's smashing the patriarchy. And it's like, well, they're already letting you do this. Because here's one thing about putting a modern perspective on kind of old school or older, cultures and things is, in the 1700s or in any tribal environment from the past, you have to actually contribute to your tribe. It's like, it's not like now. You can't just go down the street and get a job at McDonald's or go work in an office. Like, you actually have to have a skill. So from the time you're a kid, you would already been learning these skills. So if she was already this way as like a tomboy as a kid, she would have already been, they've already accepted it or not. And it seems like she's already skilled enough to be doing this stuff. So there's no way she would be that age and just be kind of floating around and not having any specific sort of job that contributes to the tribe. You know what I mean? It's like, that's one of the kind of flaws in looking at it from a modern perspective. You don't get to just be 18 years old saying, oh, this is what I want to be when I grow up. It's like, no, you actually have to contribute, because it's life or death every day in a tribal situation. Right? So that kind of confused me. I mean, her brother already acknowledged she's good at healing and she's good at tracking. So it's like that she would have been a really great addition to a hunting party. It's like, why wouldn't you want her on your hunting group? And I know they tried to make the guys, make fun of her a little bit, but that's another thing that I think people, when they try to write women into situations like this, they don't understand, is that this is how men communicate with each other. Like, that's something I noticed a long time ago, is that men make fun of each other as a show of camaraderie. And if any of you guys know, this is how you and your friends act. When you're around people that are your friends that you've been friends with for a long time, you'll make fun of each other. And you don't mean anything by it. It's just, this is just how we as men show that we like each other. And that's why I think you get a lot of these sort of things like online, like gaming and stuff, like girls who want to, game with guys, they get kind of angry when they're like, oh, get in the kitchen and, fuck you and all this stuff. And the girls are like, why are the guys being so mean to me? It's like, they're not. It's like, this is just kind of how we are. It's like, breaking balls and just, hazing in a way. It's kind of, we just make fun of each other. So it's like, that was kind of a weird thing too. I'm watching it saying like, yeah, they're just talking shit to her, but this is just how guys are anyway. But it didn't seem like they disrespected her. That was the weird thing too, is like, they're all in a tribal environment. So it didn't seem like they had any malice for her. It seemed like they all kind of treated her like she was family. And you even saw that later on when shit got rough and the predator started killing people. One of these other guys that wasn't her brother, like, they were like huddled up together. They were like, they were like family. And again, we're taking a modern perspective and trying to put it on a tribal environment from hundreds of years ago. When you're in a tribe, you're all family. There is no, the guy down the street or my neighbor. It's like, no, if you live in a tribe, you're all family. So anyway, the movie, I thought, did a really great job with making her just vulnerable enough. And just, I mean, of course, the last, scene, the last fight scene was, of course, it's unbelievable, man. It's unrealistic to me for a human to beat a predator anyway. So even when Arnold beat him, it was kind of like he barely did it just by some lucky circumstance. So it was like, I really can't be too hard on her either. Cause it's just like, you really realistically, a person hand to hand is not going to beat a predator. It just doesn't make sense to me. But I thought they did it in a good way. I thought they kind of set up the steps to make it believable, where she had that flower that would like lower your body temperature. And they set that up early on in the movie. So that became a thing. And she just, throughout the movie, she was putting together pieces of vulnerabilities and tendencies that the predator had. And again, I thought it was a great thing. The predator was really good. I thought he was extra brutal. I thought he was just, the gadgets were really great. I mean, I think that's one of the best parts about the Predator is he has all these cool weapons, but I think this one really utilized the brutality of these weapons, and it just kind of dropped him into this environment where there's a bunch of people that really don't have a chance against him. So he's just beating up bums basically. And that was kind of the good and bad part about it. It was like, I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember like WWF wrestling when it's like the name brand guy comes out and he's like, Hulk Hogan comes out and it's like he goes against some like bum regular guy named just, Johnny Smith. And he comes out with just the regular underwear. It's like he doesn't have like any special identity. He just gets his ass beat. Like that's what it felt like. It was just a guy, a predator coming in and just beating up a bunch of just bums, just straight target practice. And so, which again, that was the good part. And it was kind of simultaneously the bad part because I think it's like, how can a predator fashion himself to be challenging himself in any way if he's beating up a bunch of people with bow and arrows and tomahawks and then like flint pistols, like single shot fucking like old school pistols, just like that. They had absolutely no chance. And he had like technology, and it wasn't like he was using this advanced technology, but just, it didn't seem like it was ever really going to be a challenge for him. So yeah, it was, again, overall, the movie I thought was great because it was just in a way, it was just kind of a horror movie in a way where it's just kind of dropping the predator in, letting him kill a bunch of people in interesting ways. Just the same reason you would go to see like a Jason movie or a Saw movie or anything. You kind of go to see the traps and the kills and stuff. You're not really going to see the people get away. Like he wanted the predator to kill all these people. And he had some really cool gadgets. I like the little net thing that he did. I think he used that in a couple other movies. But this one was like, it got to show the full extent of it. And it like chopped the guy to pieces. And then he had like the arm shield, which he was holding the guy by the throat. And then he opened the arm shield and it chopped his head off. And it was just really great. I liked the body armor. I liked how the predator looked in the body because it was reminiscent of the original one. It looked like a real person or a real kind of organic organism or thing in just with this light armor on. It was mobile. I didn't like the mask though. And I didn't like the face redesign. Like it just was a really strange looking mask and face because I wasn't sure if it was like, is this bone or is this some sort of, I don't know, like alien metal or something? Like I just really kind of didn't understand what that was. Like, how does he even see through this? Like, is it, like I was kind of confused on that. When you saw his face looked kind of strange too, but overall still was great. My biggest gripe though with this is I think the Predator movies are having the same problem that the Alien movies have. And that is, Alien movies are basically just drop the xenomorph into an environment and let it chase a bunch of people around hallways. And it's been that way for every movie, basically. It's just with a different type of person in every movie. So the first one was just space truckers. And then the second one was space marines. And the third one was prisoners. And then the next one was, I don't know, pirates and kind of scientists. And then the AVP movie was, I don't know, explorers or whatever. And then regular civilians in the AVP 2. And then, like it's just basically that. It's just kind of dropping the xenomorph into an environment and having them kill a bunch of different sorts of people. So it's like that gets kind of old. And that's why one of the reasons I like Prometheus so much is because it expanded the lore in this universe. It was like, okay, there's the xenomorphs, but there's also other stuff going on in this universe that we can explore. But then with Alien Covenant, they just kind of fucked it up and just went back to the xenomorph chasing people around shit. And it's like that kind of ruined any opportunity for it to become, to really extend it into a new kind of rebooted franchise. Now, with like I said, the Predator, I think, has a very similar problem, because at this point, we already know what the Predator can do. Like, we already know what it's going to do. It's going to have cool gadgets. It's going to use its cloaking thing, and it's going to run around killing a bunch of cool or badasses or whatever. At this point, what they should start doing is exploring the Predator a little more, because unlike the Xenomorph is more like an animal or like a werewolf or whatever. Like, it doesn't really have a personality or anything, so you can't really explore. It's just like a bug or an animal. Whereas the Predator is more like a person. You know, it has a culture, it has beliefs, it has, you know, different things that we haven't explored. It's like, do the Predators have a god? Do the Predators have, you know, what do the female Predators look like? Do they have what is their civilization like? What is their reproduction process like? You know, like what do they, you know, we can learn so much more about them. And my idea personally was that they should have a movie. If I was going to write a Predator movie, which of course I've already written out a bunch of details and stuff. I mean, I have basically a spec script for a Predator movie. It starts off with basically a person that's been accepted into the Predator tribe on like a planet that they live on. It doesn't have to be their home world, but it could be like a colony they live on, and he's been accepted by them, and they've captured a bunch of new people because every year, I guess, they allow different sort of species to compete to see if they could actually like survive. Like, if you survive one of them, they actually give you the title of being able to, you know, compete and hunt with them and stuff. And you get to learn about their technology and maybe some other things. Maybe, you know, I have some other ideas to kind of sprinkle in. Like, maybe they can give you some things like some alien steroids or whatever that kind of enhance your ability, so you're a little bit more, you know, strong and mobile like them. Like, you're not turning into a Predator, but it's like basically like that. They're giving you the full access of all their technology. So I thought that would be a great idea, is to kind of drop us in a more intimate environment, seeing the Predators not on a hunt, kind of seeing how they live. And you can have it from a person's perspective, though. And they maybe, you know, there's a person that's already been hunting with them, that's already been accepted. And he's basically the liaison, or kind of the conduit that is explaining to them the trials that they're going to be put through and what happens. And so we can learn a little bit about the Predators from this person. Because again, all they keep doing with the movies is just drop people in a place, drop the Predator down, and have them chase him around. And at this point, I think that's kind of old. I think it's like, we need to learn more. I mean, we've even done that with other, like I said, like Jason or Leatherface and stuff. Yeah, sure, a couple movies of just Jason running around killing people is fine, but at some point, we did have to learn a little bit more about him. And I think the Predator deserves that. I think he deserves to have a little bit more clarification and exploration into what this species really is. Because I know the movies don't really follow the lore so much of the comics or the books. They kind of, some things, but they kind of go off on their own. But the Predator, for the most part, has remained a mystery. And I think at most, if they want to keep the franchise alive, I don't think just making another Predator movie like this, even though this, I think, is going to be relatively successful, I think most people will like it. But at the same time, I think it's going to be a little bit of just more of the same. So I think some people won't like it because of that. Because just like, hey, you know, I've seen this story before. It's like, you just, okay, the Predator comes in, he kicks some ass. It's just, you know, it's not bad, but it's not anything that I would necessarily have to watch again, or necessarily like tell somebody, oh man, you got to see this. It's just like, hey, have you ever seen a movie where the Predator kills some people? Yeah, basically that's what this movie is. just close your eyes and imagine what a Predator would do to a bunch of Native Americans and 1700s fur trappers. Just close your eyes and imagine what he would do to them. And it's like, there, you've basically seen the movie. There's really nothing else to it. And it's like, explore the Predator more. That would be my idea. That would be the only way I can improve on what they would do next. Because I think, even though I think they're not going to do that, it's unfortunate they're not going to do that. But that to me is the only way that you can keep the Predator franchise alive. Because just like so many other things that are coming out now, you know, the Predator is a 30-year-old idea. You know, I mean, this shit came out in the 80s. And it's like, this is an idea that came out a long time ago. It's like, if you're going to keep milking these franchises, you have to give something new. You can't just try to recreate the same thing, which I think that's what they keep trying to do with everything. It's like, even with Star Wars, it's like, oh, everybody liked the original movies, so let's just make more movies that are exactly like that. And it's like, no, it's like, make new movies. Like, you have a big world that you can operate in. Oh, everybody likes Ghostbusters from the 80s. Let's just make another movie like that. Let's just make the same. Oh, if everybody liked RoboCop from the 80s, let's just make another movie just like that. It's like, no, you could explore so many other things in this world. You can open up this world We already know about RoboCop. We already know about the Ghostbusters. We already know about the Predator comes down and kills people. We already know about the Xenomorph chases people around. We already know these things. You don't have to keep digging these franchises up just to basically put a new paint job on them. And it's basically what they're doing is like they're taking a pair of shoes out of our closet, wrapping them up in a pretty package, and then giving us the same shoes we've been wearing. It's like, I've already have these. I've already seen this shit before. It's like, why don't you go get something new? Why don't you come up with some new idea? And I think, I'll finish off with this because I think I'm probably going a little long with this, but I think one of the most disappointing things about the internet is it seems like production studios and creators have gotten dumber because of the internet, which should be the complete opposite. If I was in charge of a movie studio, or if somebody, even though I have a ton of ideas for things, if somebody hired me to write a story about something specific, one of the first things I would do is I would surf the internet for theories. I would surf the internet for people's opinions on this topic. I would just spend probably a month just watching every video, everyone's opinions, and just kind of coming up with the general idea of what everybody likes, what everybody doesn't like, try to find some new ideas like, oh shit, I've heard several people discuss this thing, this kind of angle I can take. Maybe when I'm writing my story or my version of the script, maybe I can kind of take that angle. Maybe I can address some of these things. But it seems like these production studios are just like, we have a completely free, available way to figure out what our audience wants. But now we're not going to do that. We're just going to make some completely random shit that a bunch of weirdos that don't even seem to like the franchise are going to write up. Like, oh man, we're going to make a Predator movie. Let's make it about a girl trying to prove that she's just like the boys. And again, I know they didn't go heavy with that, but it's like, it's almost like the Game of Thrones world to me. It's like, why did they take so long now to start making spinoffs to Game of Thrones? It's like, did you not know that this was very popular like in season 3? Like you should have already, as soon as the final episode 8 or season 8 aired, you should have already had a new trailer up to go right at the end of that. You should have already had some shit in production. But it's like they waited until, the regular Game of Thrones shit ended, and then they start writing new projects. Oh, we got 10 new spinoffs ready. It's like, why the fuck weren't these ready before? And that's just me. It's like, if I worked there, I would have been telling people around season 3, hey, we need to already start getting some shit going. Because in my mind, I'm starting to feel like maybe that Game of Thrones ship has sailed. I think we spent a lot of time thinking about it. We spent about the last 10 years having it as a popular thing. And I think everything has kind of its time. The Marvel, glitter is starting to wear off. The superhero thing is starting to wear off. And it's like, I started to hear like DC's going to try to revamp their whole world. It's like, you guys are a day late and a dollar short. You guys are, this is kind of over. This superhero shit's done. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents on it, though. But I think you'll like the movie. I think it's a cool addition to it. I just think it's relatively unnecessary. I think it's, like I said, just close your eyes and imagine, if you haven't seen it, close your eyes and imagine what a predator would do to a bunch of Native Americans and 1700s fur trappers. And there, you've basically seen the movie. He's going to kill them. They have no way to stop him. The technology is massively inferior. It's like dropping a fucking professional fighter into a kindergarten class and just imagine what he would do. That's basically what the Predator would do against these people. They have absolutely no protection against him. And it's just kind of sad that they keep just rehashing the same thing and almost like beating a dead horse in a way.